Hey, everybody, we are back. It's awesome to have you here at Finding the One. We're back after about a 2-month hiatus. Is that the right word? Hiatus? Do you guys say it that way in London? Or do you say hiatus? How do you say it?
Hiatus.
Hiatus.
Yes.
So we're back from a hiatus. And we're excited to be here because we've gotten, I got to tell you, The Higher Self is our other podcast. And obviously, this one is so new. That one has way more listeners. But you guys here that listen to this show, you guys are like
Epic.
Like
so engaged. Just like there's way more conversation, I think, around the topics that we're talking about. And it feels like a mix between a reality TV show and a podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
We love it.
Yeah, we absolutely love it. So thank you for all of you that message us saying, when is the show coming back? When is the show coming back? And Jen and I were talking about this episode and how we wanted to come back. Obviously, we have a story that we are telling you. But, it feels inauthentic to not go and talk about the very thing that we just kind of came from, which was we're married. Yeah. Let's talk about that journey and that process and what it was like. And you had an interesting moment at the reception dinner.
Yeah.
And there was just a lot going on that I'd love to share. I know where I want to start.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I want to start with the fact that as my first official duty as a husband, I had to sit on this side because someone has a spot or something going on this side of her face. So you guys are getting my bad side today.
By the way,
I just thought I'd throw that out there.
We both prefer right side, but someone always gets to sit on the right.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So today's my day because my left side of my face not doing too good today.
Yeah.
Because I ate too many chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah, exactly.
I think where should we start? So you took the boys on a trip to Rome. So Aaron came to London with us.
Yeah. So my son, my youngest Aaron, came to London with us, which was really, really exciting.
Sweet. Yeah.
It was really nice. It was, in many ways, this was the first time that your family was getting an opportunity to meet the boys.
Yeah.
So it was like a meeting of two worlds. And for me, it felt like I was going to take or have the opportunity to take my kids to go see like what I've been a part of all this time.
Yeah.
And for Aaron in particular, being that he is absolutely in love with football, soccer for you Americans, this was a great trip because I wanted to have him experience what football was like in London and in that part of the world. And it was wonderful.
Yeah. I think that's such a good point to kind of touch on as if we're going to talk about it in like topics is it felt really nice for me personally to have the boys see my context. So I'm sure for them, it felt like I just kind of like came into their lives as this like random human being. Because that's what it was. I had no context. They didn't really know my family, my friends, where I'm from. And I think it was really healing for me personally. And I feel like for them to kind of see where I'm from and meet my family, meet my friends. And I mean, all my friends and family absolutely adored them. And a huge part of the wedding for both of us was this merging of our two worlds, of your family, my family, our friends over here, my friends over there, all coming together.
For me, it was also nice because I'm sure that like for your family, not everybody, but for some people, maybe your extended family who don't really know me, it's like, who the fuck is this guy?
Who's this dude?
Yeah, who's this guy? Like this American guy, like older guy, like how is this making sense? And I think we'll get into it later, but by the end of the wedding, it was so beautiful to see. Literally everyone was like planning trips together, wanting to go on vacations together, hanging out together. And, it was really nice.
Really special.
Nice. Yeah. I want to talk about the planning of the wedding.
Okay.
Because we put a lot of thought into what we wanted it to feel like. Obviously, this isn't my first rodeo. So I know that I wanted, because of our journey and because of who we are and because of all the work we've done, I wanted love to be at the forefront of our ceremony.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put on a show. I didn't want anyone to be there that wasn't in our frequency. I didn't want, sometimes you go to weddings and, people are talking and whispering and, they're bad mouthing. I didn't want any of that. I wanted the energy to be pure, and I wanted love to be the foundation of everything that was there. And I was committed to that. And so were you, that we didn't want to invite anyone, just because, often in life we do things because we have to, or because our family members say that we have to, or whatever. And we were like, we're not playing that game. Like, we're not doing that. And I think that's as a result of, the work that we've done.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Yeah, I can honestly say everyone that we invited and had around us, I loved. I felt like what a special thing to have all these people that I truly love. There wasn't one person that I couldn't go around the table and hug and talk to and truly feel that like bond and connection with them. And I feel like, especially in the context of a wedding, it's really special and important that you feel those things. Why are you looking at me like that?
Because I just sent you a telepathic message. Did you feel it at any point in time?
No.
Okay, never mind.
So yeah, we were really thoughtful about the planning of the wedding.
I want to dive into this, babe. I want to look into and talk about, which is, I think, why so many people love this show. Is like we get into things that like you don't talk about in life.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the boundary that we were able to set around who we had at the wedding. Like I can't stress enough how often we find ourselves in situations where we feel like we have to invite or have to do something just because of the energy outside of us or what other people think. And that's not standing in our truth. That's not listening to ourselves. That's not being our authentic self. I got to be honest, like, we're lucky in that my parents are not around, but your parents are wonderful. Like,
my parents really understood like the brief of the wedding,
yeah,
and really got on board with it early, which I was I know we were both super grateful for, because when we said like, no, we really just want like a small wedding and we want love to be at the center of it, they were able to like understand that and then connect within themselves. Like, okay, well, in terms of inviting their friends, it was like, well, who do we really love?
Yeah.
Who do we really feel like are the people we speak to every day and that like are our die-hard kind of like friends and family and whatever. So yeah, and I think it's hard because you never want to upset anyone and you never want to leave anyone out, and there's all those kind of like things that you think about. But when you're honest with people and what the decision you're making has love as its reasoning, then you can't really go wrong, can you?
You can. And I have to say, like, I just want to honor your parents, because, truly, straight up, if it was any other kind of parent, I wouldn't be getting married to you, like, straight up, because I just will not deal with that in my life. But, your parents are so wonderful. Like, they really honored and listened to what we wanted to experience. Mm-hmm. And I say that because many times, like, like what the ego does is the ego tries to force your way a pawn, right? In this case, like, two people are getting married, and the ego wants to force what it wants on these two people's most important day of their life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I want to say it's a testament to not just your parents, but your entire family, really, that there was like zero discussion around this. It was wonderful. It was wonderful to feel that.
Yeah.
Like all of the drama that most people have to go through. Think about that. Like,
well, that's the funniest thing, is that people would say to me, it's like, the wedding coming up, are you so stressed? Like, how's it been? Are you so stressed? And can I tell you what was the biggest preparation to not be stressed for the wedding? Having a child first. Yeah. Because the craziest journey that we had been on in the year before the wedding, truly planning the wedding felt like such a joy.
Yeah.
Having a baby, moving country, doing all those things that truly did feel really hard at the time, compared to planning a wedding, no, that's a joy.
Yeah.
And regardless of what your context is, and like, that's a silly joke, but really planning a wedding should be a joy. Yes, I understand there's a lot of detail and there's a lot of work that goes into it, but it is really like a joyous occasion, and we don't have to get so bogged down in the stressy details or the family drama which luckily we didn't have.
Baby, I keep going back, and this is like, if you get anything, guys, please listen to this, because the way I thought about it was like the wedding and the energy of the wedding and how beautiful it all was. I'm talking the location, the food, the sun, the nature. Like, it was in many ways a reflection of like what's inside of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when you say the fact that the wedding or a wedding should be joy and it shouldn't be stressful, think about it this way, guys, is that's how life should be. Mm-hmm. Like, so a wedding or a celebration or your relationship truly, right, should be a reflection, is a reflection of what's going on inside
of you. Yeah.
So then since our relationship isn't chaos and stressful, then the wedding can't be that.
What we're really talking about is that our inner world creates our outer world.
Bingo.
That's what we're talking about. So it doesn't matter if it's your day or your wedding or whatever it is. It's like, when you have chaos going on inside of you, you create a very chaotic world for yourself. And that's not the energy that we live in. It was like, for example, it thunderstormed the week before our wedding, and it thunderstormed the week after our wedding. Actually, not even the week, 2 days after.
Yeah.
But Friday, Saturday, Sunday of our wedding was bright blue skies, because I just wasn't inviting the energy in.
Neither was I.
It might rain. What if it rains? Oh my God, I don't want it to rain. It's just like, wasn't a thought. It's not going to rain.
And hopefully we can teach this to you guys, like literally all of that, like that conversation. And this is normal life where people go, oh my God, but what if we both were just like, the type of people we are, we just shut that down. Like, no, that's not even a possibility.
It's not going to rain.
It's not. It's because it's our wedding. Do you get that? Like, and I really want to help you guys with this, because you have no idea how much chaos, how much stress, how much anxiety, how much arguments, how much worries you're creating, because the little boy or little girl inside of you has yet to heal those parts of them, because that chaos, it was learned. It's not who you are. It's not who and what your authentic self really is.
The point is not whether it rains or doesn't rain. It's not whether something goes wrong or doesn't. It's that whatever's going to happen, I was happy to let it flow. Like, there were mishaps and things that went wrong in the wedding, but like that, it just was.
Yeah.
It just flowed,
Yeah.
And the moments that I'm sure we'll get into, but there were moments that I found really difficult because I was going through my own internal process. But that doesn't make it bad or wrong. It just was a moment of huge learning for me, just like life tends to be.
So I decided that I would fly the boys in. Aaron was already with us. So Aaron and I flew from London to Italy.
Yeah.
And I decided to fly the boys in from Dallas to Italy,
Rome, yeah.
To Rome, and which
Because
was
they had school.
what's that?
They had school.
They had
They
schools,
couldn't come
right?
because they had
So they had
school.
school, right? And so it was wonderful because they had an opportunity for the first time to visit Europe, which they loved,
Yeah.
and they want to go back now.
Yeah.
And it was nice for me as a dad because we got a chance to spend 3 days or so, just the three of us, before bringing them into this new world, this new life with all of these new people. And I think we were both sensitive to the fact that this was going to be it's a change. It's a change. And so kudos to you for making sure that I had the opportunity to spend that time with them alone, basically before the wedding.
I think it was actually my idea.
I think it might have been.
No, I think it was a really special, important time for you guys. And yeah, we just didn't know how it was going to go down. Regardless, I know people that have divorced parents that are like 40 and their parents get remarried, and it's still weird for them. It was going to be a day regardless.
Yeah.
So we wanted to be as sensitive as we possibly could to the entirety of the situation.
Yeah. And
then we met you, me, Selena, the rest of the family. We all flew and met you on the Thursday.
Do you want to talk about the location?
Yeah, so we found, it was the party planner who helped us find the location. And originally we FaceTime saw it and we loved it. It was like absolute yes. And then I ended up going to see it when I was pregnant with Selena without you. And I remember the moment me and my parents walked in, the first thing I remember seeing was a bush, a lavender bush that had butterflies like all over it. And if you know that butterfly is a very important symbol to you, but for me, the butterfly represents my grandma. And I just felt the presence of your mom so strong there. So did my mom, actually, which both like made us cry in an instant. And also we were all crying. We just like knew that this was the place. And then you ended up coming back to see it, and not on another trip to Italy. It was just the most stunning venue. And most importantly, one of my briefs for the wedding was make it feel like a family holiday. And this venue had the capacity to hold like 40 of us. So basically all the family, with a pool. And I could just imagine like the kids playing in the pool and us sitting around and you playing soccer, which you did. And it was just, yeah, perfect. Perfect.
And it matched our tastes so well, because I remember we were looking at potentially getting married on Lake Como.
Yes.
And there were, there's some very famous places to get married there. And whenever we, would look into it, it just didn't match our energy.
For us, I think it just felt a little bit too focused on the external.
Like pretentious a little bit.
I was going to say pretentious, but I thought that was a nicer way of saying it.
Yeah, but I'm me.
Okay.
I
Whereas we were focused more on the feeling than the look.
Yeah.
But it also was a stunning location.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should we get into like the actual wedding?
Yeah.
So the Friday night we had our welcome dinner. And yeah, we hadn't seen all the guests because we had people staying kind of like all over the place in different hotels. So that was the first time we were going to see everyone. And I had a bit of a moment, didn't I?
Yeah. If you've been watching this show long enough, you know that Jen used to struggle with anxiety and borderline panic attacks. And that hasn't happened in a very long time.
Yeah.
But it happened.
Came back to play.
What was it like? Walk us through it.
You know what I think happened? Number one, I was absolutely exhausted because although it was wonderful that you got to spend the week with the boys, I mostly had Selena at home by myself and was like doing all the last minute planning for the wedding. And I, to be honest, in those 3 days, I was particularly overwhelmed, I think. And I had come on my period.
Oh.
Is that too much to share?
No.
Which apparently is good luck when you come on your period on your wedding day.
Oh, really?
Apparently.
Sweet.
But it feels so good in the moment, especially when you're going to spend the whole weekend wearing white.
Yeah, that's not good.
It's not good. It's not good.
No, it didn't stop us, by the way.
What the holy fuck is wrong with you?
Well, it didn't stop me.
Sometimes I think you forget that people actually watch the show.
That's what they love about it, I think.
Okay. Moving swiftly on. You know what it felt like? Besides the fact I was hormonal and exhausted, the overarching message was, imagine if I were to throw you into a situation with like all your old real estate friends, put you in like one of your old suits.
Oh boy.
With like maybe just like past life things. I won't be too specific. And then also all those people are in a room with your like new friends.
Yeah.
And people that understand like this version of you. I think like old versions of me were coming out to play because of the people I was around. But then I was getting like confused because obviously all my new friends and people that know me differently were also there. And I think I was having like a glitch in my matrix of letting old versions of myself die. Does that make sense?
It does. I want to ask you, what does old versions of me coming out to play look like? What did that look like?
Well, it's conditioning. It's conditioned behavior. So it's like if someone talks to you in a certain way, like for example, your parents, if they talk to you in a certain way, you are used to giving a certain response that has a certain energy and a certain frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, with some of my friends, I'm very used to acting a certain type of way where I give a certain response, and there's nothing necessarily inherently wrong with that. The thing is you can get away with doing that and slipping into conditioned behavior, but you can't necessarily do that when you've got the mirror of this new version of you there too.
Yeah.
And I think I was like straddling both, and what I'm trying to say is neither one was bad. But it's just like this version of me needed to die. Like it didn't feel right in my system anymore, the way I was behaving. And it was causing me a whole lot of anxiety. My performance anxiety came back to play, where I feel like this has been such a big realization, but I don't know if we have the time and space to talk about it now.
I think this is exactly what we need to talk about.
Maybe we'll have to do the wedding in 2 parts then.
That's okay. No, because I think this is the type of thing that people love about the show, is that it's medicine. It shows to them, number one, they're not alone. And number two, like we go through it too, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I had this huge realization of kind of like why I ended up having anxiety in the first place, which is the first time I've really been able to pinpoint a kind of a cause. Because naturally I grew up thinking, but I had a great childhood and I loved my parents and my parents are wonderful, which they are. And like, why did I end up with like mental health issues? It doesn't make sense to me. But it's so much more nuanced than that. And on a walk with my friend Gillian, we were discussing how as little girls we're taught to be the good girl. And the good girl is the girl that's quiet and she's polite and she eats in a certain way and she dresses a certain way and she's clean and she's tidy and she performs for the world and she makes sure that people are pleased by her and that other people like her. And she puts all of that, the need to be the good girl. I just want mom and dad to tell me I'm a good girl. My teachers to tell me I'm a good girl. We put all of that over all our own desires, wants, and needs, and our truth, to be honest. And it gets spread on top of us so thick that we can't tell that it's actually not a part of us. And I had this huge realization. My friend Gillian said to me, she was like, I feel like you are you, but I feel like you're you wearing a straitjacket.
Wow.
And when she said that to me, I was like, firstly, what a friend.
Yeah. Those are the kind of friends you
Those are the kind of friends
want.
you need.
Yeah.
The ones that tell you the fucking truth.
That's right.
Seriously, because
That's right.
it hit me in the heart so hard. Not because I was offended, by the way, but because it was truth. It hit me like deep.
That's right. That's the only time you get offended, by the way.
What?
So like when you know there's something there.
There's something there.
Yeah.
But I don't get offended because when something's truth, it's thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for reflecting back to me my own truth. And I like sat with that feeling. I was like, I do wear a straitjacket, don't I? And I wear this straitjacket of the good girl, Jen. And what I realized is as a child growing up, I got to the point of like 19, 20 where I was performing as this good girl. And the biggest realization of the whole thing was when I went to therapy, they told me what kind of anxiety did they tell me I had?
Performance
anxiety. So it's literally like you are performing, you are wearing a mask, you are wearing this version of you that is not you. And it causes you anxiety. Of course it does. Do you know how absolutely exhausting it is to not be the authentic version of you? So at 19, 20, I have this huge mental breakdown because I can't physically wear the straitjacket anymore, where I'm like trying to be so good and so polite and so clever and can't fucking do it anymore. So I have this huge breakdown. And because I don't fully understand what's going on, I work out how to be this version of me that's like one arm's still in the straitjacket, but one arm's over here, like feeling free and good.
Yeah.
So then I flow in between, like, oh, don't feel so good. Oh, I feel great. I'm free again.
Yeah.
And now that I've had this realization, I mean, it was literally spread thick onto everything I did. And I'll give you a couple of examples that I noticed so like you can relate. It's the way I sit when I'm on my own and I'm eating in public, and I eat in like the perfect bite-sized amounts so that like I don't get shit on my face, because that would be so mortifying and embarrassing. Who fucking cares? It's the way I scoop the mixture, the cake mixture, into the tin to ensure that not one droplet goes on the outside of the tin. How fucking exhausting is that to live your life like that? Terrible. Well, not terrible. We don't judge it. But inside of me felt so tiring. So once I had this realization, I was like, what made Jen the good girl? And I started to really think about it and write it down. And And I was like, well, if that's not Jen, who is she? And how exciting is it to get this opportunity to like relearn myself? And maybe it's okay to be a little bit sassy, and it's okay to be a little bit strongly worded, or to like show up big when I need to show up big and not be scared like to offend anyone. Or feels fantastic. How did I start talking about this? Because at the welcome dinner, I had major performance anxiety. Because all these people had shown up for us, for me, and I didn't feel like entertaining 80 people because I was tired.
You didn't even eat that night.
I was so anxious I didn't even eat one mouthful of food.
You know, I remember you going through this. And I remember two things. Number one, here I am. I'm your partner in life. I'd like to think, I'm your best friend. You're my best friend. And I'm watching you, babe. I'm watching you talk to some of your friends. And I'm watching you be a version of yourself that I was literally like,
I don't know you.
Wait a minute, like what the fuck is this? Like, can I describe a little, like without like
No. What are you gonna say?
No, okay. The amount of unnecessary drama that I saw you like live out energetically in your words. Like I was literally watching like, wait, that's not the Jen I know. Like you know how to handle that better. Like you don't have to get involved in that, or you don't have to go there. And it was really interesting. So my ego had its moment where it was like, oh, here on your wedding day, she's going to change on you. Right. But I knew something was going on. Right. So I just watched. And then towards the end, when we were all having dinner, I do remember when we sat down and you were having a little anxiety and it was getting rough. And I remember what I told you. And I think this is my message to the men out there. And I meant this. I meant what I said. Is I remember I said, fuck it, babe, then call the wedding off. And you were like, no, don't be silly. I was like, no, call it off. Like, we're not doing this. We don't have to do this. And I not only meant it, but I wanted you to know that, like, in that moment, like none of or no one else mattered but like you and what you were going through, And I'd like to think that helped a little bit, because in that moment, what I feel like you wanted to know was that, yes, of course I had your back, but it's deeper than that. It's that if it meant not getting married, like, would I still love you? Like, am I more attached to what other people think and the money that was spent and the moment? Like, for me, none of that matters, or none of that mattered. What mattered is how you feel. And, for a lot of couples that are out there, one of the messages that we constantly get, and one of the things that we constantly work through with couples that are in Inner Circle or in our program is just that, one or both of the people in the couples put their parents, their family, their job, their career, their this, their that, everything comes first before the person's heart that you're in the relationship with. And I wanted you to know that, I wanted you to know that in that moment. What allowed you to calm down?
You know what actually helped me the most is I had a really bad night's sleep the night before the wedding, was still super anxious, like not feeling quite right. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, do you know what? Fuck this. Am I going to use all the tools that I've learned in the past 5-6 years, that I know how to recenter myself. I know how to reground myself. And the next morning, I literally woke up, I meditated, I did yoga, I had a cold shower, I breathed, I did ecstatic dance. I spent the whole morning by myself. I was like, fuck everyone else. I don't care. I need time on my own. I saw Selena. I didn't speak too much. I didn't expend too much energy. And I was like, because that's what feels good to me. And by the time I got kind of like midway through the day, I was feeling fine.
Beautiful.
I was still nervous. I was like antsy. I think that's a whole different kind of like antsy pre-wedding feeling.
I love that. I love that.
But yeah, that's the importance of having these daily practices in your life, is that in the moments that you need them the most, you're so practiced and well-versed in recentering yourself that you can pull yourself out from like really far out all the way back in.
Mm-hmm. So what you guys don't know, things have been getting a little busy for us. Jen is working on an incredible project, and she's got a meeting to run to here in a second. So we're going to cut this episode right here and say, we know that we normally do 2 questions, but I want to honor my beautiful wife and the fact that she's creating some incredible things that are actually, it's interesting, going to help you guys on your journey, specifically in the ways that she just mentioned.
Absolutely.
And we're going to continue the ceremony and everything else on next week's episode of Finding the One.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you guys next week.